I know you're tired. You've carried enough today. Whatever weight has been pressing on your mind, whatever thoughts have been circling, whatever fears tried to follow you into the night, you don't have to hold them anymore. This moment, this space, this breath, is for rest. You are stepping into an ancient quiet tonight, a quiet older than your pain, older than your stress, older than every burden you've ever held. Tonight, you come to rest in the presence of a story older than the world, you know. Older than the mountains, older than the storm that tried to break you. Tonight, you rest in the Nephilim's ancient presence, not in fear, not in danger, not in darkness, but in the calm that comes. When you remember that God walked with his people, even in the strangest, oldest days of the earth, breathe in slowly and let it go, again, and release. Welcome. You are safe here, and you are not alone. Long before you were born, long before your struggles began, long before nations rose and fell, there were stories whispered across the ancient world. Stories of giants, stories of warriors, stories of mysteries too vast for modern minds to fully grasp. The scriptures call them Nephilim, the mighty ones of old, men of renown. Figures who walked the earth before the flood, in days when the world was young, and the nights were filled with wonder. Their presence was overwhelming, their shadows stretching across valleys, their footsteps echoing through forgotten hills. But tonight, their presence is not something to fear. Tonight, you rest in the memory. WF a world God saw, a world God judged, a world God redeemed. The Nephilim are not here to frighten you, but to remind you, God has always been bigger than the giants in your life. Those ancient figures, those legendary beings, they were mighty. But they were not beyond God, not beyond his reach, not beyond his power, not beyond his authority, and neither are your burdens. Breathe in, hold it gently, and let it go. Feel your shoulders lower. Feel your breath deepen. Feel your mind loosen its grip. You've carried enough today. You don't have to be strong right now. You don't have to figure everything out. You don't have to solve anything. This is your place of release. This is your place of quiet. This is your place of ancient peace. Imagine the world before the flood, a world untouched by cities, unscarred by metal, unshaped by human hands. The air was thicker. The forests were denser. The oceans deeper and darker, rippling under skies heavy with mist. Mountains climbed higher. Trees towered like cathedrals. The stars glowed brighter across untouched heavens. This was the world the Nephilim walked in, a world of enormous scale, of breathtaking beauty, of mysteries lost to time. But even in days of giants, even in days of legends, even in a world that feels far from yours, God watched. God listened. God saw. And if God's presence reached into that world, he can reach into yours. You are not too small for him. Your problems are not too modern for him. Your pain is not too complicated for him. Your story is not too broken for him. The same God who saw the Nephilim sees you tonight. He sees you resting. He sees you breathing. He sees you letting go. And he calls you safe. As you lie here, as your breathing settles, as the night grows softer, hear this ancient promise. He who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. Rest, not strive, not fear, not run, not fight. Rest, Even in the days when giants walked the earth, even in the days when the world was young and wild, God kept a shelter for his people. And that same shelter is over you now. You are under his wings. You are under his covering. You are under his protection. The Nephilim were mighty, but your God is almighty. Let your breathing soften again, slow, steady, peaceful. You are entering a world long forgotten, a world that existed before history began to record itself. A world where silence stretched across vast plains and rivers carved pathways through untouched valleys. In the distance, massive shapes moved slowly beneath the trees, not threats, not monsters, but reminders of a time when everything felt larger than life. These were the days of the Nephilim, the mighty ones of old. Men of strength, figures of renown, beings whose presence made the ground tremble, and yet they too were under the gaze of the God who sees all. If God watched over humanity, in a world where giants walk the earth, then surely God watches over you. In the quiet of your room tonight, let that truth settle deeply. You are held. You are seen. You are never outside his care. Listen to the ancient words carried across thousands of years. In those days, the Nephilim were on the earth, the mighty men of old, men of renown. Genesis 6:4. They were powerful, but their power never intimidated God. They were large, but not larger than his will. They carried strength, but they were still creatures, creatures under his authority, creatures under his sky, creatures under his judgment. And if the greatest giants who ever lived were still beneath God's hand, then everything that feels giant in your life is beneath him too. The worries that tower over you, the fears that feel too big, the thoughts that shout louder at night, none of them are beyond his reach. He is greater than every Nephilim, every mountain, every shadow. So you can rest, breathe in, allow your chest to rise gently, and exhale, letting the weight ease out of your body. Again, slow, soft, quiet. As you breathe, imagine setting down the giant burdens you've held. You don't need to carry them into tomorrow. You don't need to wrestle with them tonight. You don't need to fear the size of what's ahead. God is bigger, always bigger, and tonight you are safe in his presence. Imagine the ancient world at dusk, the sky painted with fading gold, the trees swaying in slow rhythm, the earth cooling beneath the feet of wandering giants. The Nephilim moved like shadows across the land, their silhouettes stretching long across the plains. But with nightfall, even they grew quiet. Even they rested. Even they surrendered to the peace of evening. The same silence that covered those ancient hills now settles over your room. The same peaceful night that stretched over the first world stretches over you now. Nothing presses in. Nothing chases you. Nothing follows you into this moment. The world grows still. Your thoughts grow softer. You settle into rest. Tonight, you lie beneath a sky older than every one of your fears. A sky God spoke into existence. A sky that watched over the Nephilim, watched over the Ark, watched over every generation, and now watches over you. Hear these words, steady, ancient, comforting. Lift up your eyes and look to the heavens. Who created all these? He who brings out the starry host one by one and calls forth each of them by name. Because of his great power and mighty strength, not one of them is missing. Isaiah 40:26. You live under the same stars God has spoken to since the beginning. The same heavens stretched over the Nephilim stretch over you. The same God, who held dominion over the mighty ones of old, holds dominion over every thought that troubles your mind tonight. If not one star is missing from his care, then neither are you. Picture the land beneath their feet. The soil of Bashan, the mountains near Hermon, ancient territories whispered about through scripture. Land that felt immense. Land that echoed with footsteps now long forgotten. Land that carried both mystery and awe. And yet, beneath all that weight and wonder, beneath all that power, beneath all that legend, God remained the anchor of creation. No giant overshadowed him. No warrior surpassed him. No ancient figure rivaled him. The Nephilim were mighty, but they were momentary. God is eternal. And tonight, that eternal presence wraps around you. Like a blanket woven with peace, rest in that. Let your breathing soften. Let your body grow heavy. Let the quiet settle around you like ancient evening mist. You are safe. You are covered. You are here in a night watched over by God himself. Let the quiet deepen around you, a stillness settling over your thoughts, a calm descending gently like evening fog. Imagine the days before the flood, not as chaos, not as terror, but as a world holding its breath. A world of vast mountains and ancient forests. A world where rivers ran through deep valleys untouched by man. A world where the footsteps of giants echoed softly at the close of day. But even in those strange and powerful times, God's presence moved quietly through the earth. He watched. He waited. He whispered to hearts willing to hear him. And if he was near, in the days of giants, he is near. In the silence of your night, let that truth wrap around you. Like a warm blanket, you don't have to fear the unknown. You don't have to fear the ancient. You don't have to fear what feels too big. God walked through the age of the Nephilim, and he is walking with you now. Before the earth was flooded, before the waters rose, before Noah built the ark, scripture hints of watchers, beings who observed, who saw, who took note of the world below. Creatures of heaven, messengers of God, beings who stood between realms. The Nephilim were mighty, but the watchers were aware. They knew the starring of the earth. They understood the weight of the age. And tonight, as you lie in stillness, you can rest knowing that you are watched over too, not by giants, not by beings of fear, but by the God who sees every hidden place and guards every quiet moment. You are not unnoticed. You are not forgotten. You are not unseen in your struggle. You are watched with care, with compassion, with love. Let these words settle deeply. God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth give way, the ancient world changed. The ancient world trembled. The ancient world shifted under the weight of giants, but God remained. And he remains now. Be still and know that I am God. Not be strong, not be brave, not fight harder. Just be still, the God who steadied the earth. In the days of giants, steadies your heart tonight. There are many things about the Nephilim that scripture leaves unanswered. Mysteries that stretch beyond human imagination. Questions that even scholars cannot agree on. But perhaps that's a gift. A reminder that the ancient world was larger than our understanding. That God's work spans dimensions we cannot comprehend. That his story is wider, older, and more magnificent than we can imagine. Tonight, you don't need to solve that mystery. You don't need to untangle the unknown. You don't need to grasp every detail. You can rest within the mystery. You can lie down in peace. Even when you don't have all the answers, let the unknown be gentle tonight. Let the ancient presence be calm. Let the mystery be soft around you, like warm night air. Picture Noah's world, a world filled with strange sights and towering figures, with legends that whispered across valleys, with beings whose shadows stretched across the land. Yet in the midst of all that grandeur, God spoke to a single man, quietly, directly, purposefully. Noah didn't need to be a giant to hear God's voice. He didn't need great strength to walk in obedience. He didn't need power to be chosen. He simply needed to listen. And tonight, as you lie here, softening into rest, you can listen too, not for thunder, not for signs in the sky, not for the voice of giants, but for the gentle whisper beneath your breath, the whisper that says, "You've carried enough today, now rest." Take a slow inhale, deep, steady, unhurried, and exhale, long, soft, quiet. Feel your body grow heavier. Feel your chest loosen. Feel the stillness gather around you. Like ancient night, you are settling into a peace older than your worries. Picture enormous trees stretching into the sky, their branches woven like cathedral arches. This is the kind of forest the Nephilim once walked through, not with violence, not with fury, but with the slow, heavy stride of beings too large to rush. When they moved, the ground hummed. When they rested, the world grew still. And tonight, you enter that stillness, not the presence of giants, but the presence of an ancient peace that lingered long before today's worries began. Let the trees shelter you. Let the ancient silence surround you. Let the sense of being so small in such a mighty world bring you comfort, because God is bigger than everything that ever felt big to you. Let your breathing slow again, soft, steady, peaceful. Imagine yourself walking through Bashan, a land the Bible calls the land of the giants. Vast fields stretch around you, quiet under the soft glow of evening. Ancient stone formations rise from the earth, weathered by time, shaped by wind, untouched by human hands. This land once echoed, with footsteps larger than life. The place where mighty kings, like Og of Bashan, stood tall among the people. But here, in the quiet of night, even the memories of giants feel gentle. The ancient ground hums softly beneath you, as if whispering stories, too old for language. And yet, even here, God is bigger. Bigger than the legends. Bigger than the mysteries. Bigger than the shadows of giants who once walked this land. You have nothing to fear. Not here. Not tonight. Not ever in his presence. Let that truth warm you, like the quiet glow of distant firelight. Picture enormous footprints, pressed deep into the earth, marks left by the Nephilim, long before the flood swept the world clean. They walked slowly, heavily, their silhouettes stretching across the hills as daylight faded. But even the giants saw the day end. Even they felt the call of night. Even they surrendered to the calm that settles when the earth grows quiet. And so do you now. You don't have to rush. You don't have to fight. You don't have to outrun anything. If the giants of old could rest, so can you. Let your breathing deepen. Let your body sink further into comfort. Let your thoughts drift away. like echoes fading into distant valleys. You are safe in this stillness, safe in this quiet, safe in this moment where the presence of God wraps around you like soft night air. Hear this ancient passage, spoken in days when the memory of giants was still fresh in the minds of Israel. For only Og, king of Bashan, was left of the remnant of the Rephaim. His bed was made of iron, more than 13 feet long. Even the mightiest king, even the largest figure, even the tallest presence was nothing compared to the power of God. And yet, that same God, who stood sovereign over Bashan, stands sovereign over your life tonight, over your anxieties, over your stresses, over the things that feel too big, over the things that feel overwhelming. Do not be afraid. The Lord your God himself will fight for you. Not giants, not kings, not warriors, but God himself. And if God fought for Israel, in the land of giants, he will fight for you in the quiet of your night. This is your place of safety. This is your place of rest. This is your place of calm. Look toward the towering slopes of Mount Hermon, called the Mountain of God, and whispered in ancient stories as a place touched by heaven. Here, the air is still. Here, the stars cling closely to the icy peaks. Here, the world feels ancient. Does H1 and the friends of something sacred. This mountain, this ancient giant of stone, stood even when the Nephilim walked the earth. It watched over their days. It saw their rise. It witnessed their fall. But more than that, it witnessed the hand of God, shaping the world in ways no human eye could understand. Tonight, you rest beneath the same sky that stretched above Hermon. The same stars, the same quiet, the same ancient peace. Let your thoughts drift upward, like mist rising along the mountain's face. Let your worries settle, like snow upon the peaks. Let your heart be still. You are held in a rest older than the mountains themselves. Now picture the moment when the waters of the flood began to rise, not in fear, not in chaos, but in the quiet clarity of God restoring the world. The giants had walked, the ancient days had passed, and the world returned to a place of stillness, a place of cleansing, a place of renewal. Let this be a reminder tonight that the floods in your life, the storms you've weathered, the giants you've faced, the burdens you've carried, they are not the end of your story. God still brings renewal. God still brings peace. God still restores what feels broken, just as he pressed his hand over the ancient world and swept away everything that needed to be released. He can sweep away the heaviness from your heart tonight. Let the old world fade. Let the giants fall silent. Let your spirit settle into a peace only God can give. Inhale, soft and deep, letting your lungs fill gently, and exhale, long and slow, letting every tight place loosen. Again, breathe in and release. Feel the last of your tension fade, like ripples on ancient waters. Feel your mind sink deeper into the quiet. Feel your spirit rest in the presence of the God who saw giants and still saw you. You've carried enough today. Tonight, you are here to rest. The waters receded. The earth grew quiet once more. And in the silence that followed the storm, a new world began to breathe again. You can imagine the stillness, mountains emerging from the deep, trees dripping with fresh rain, valleys washed clean of footprints, and the distant memory of giants fading into the mist. Even the ancient shadows that once stretched across the land grew soft, gentle, quiet. The world had changed. The weight had lifted. And in the peace after the storm, God whispered his promise into the sky itself. A rainbow, a sign of mercy, a sign of presence, a sign that the mighty one who judged the earth also restores it. Tonight, that same God pours restoration over your mind, over your body, over your weary spirit. Whatever floods you've walked through, whatever storms have surrounded you, whatever giants have stood in your way, they are not bigger than the one who carries you. Let the peace after the storm settle around you now, soft, steady, ancient, like the quiet world Noah stepped into. You are safe in this calm. You are safe in this new beginning. You are safe in this rest. After the flood, Scripture speaks again of giants, the Nephilim, descendants of a world long gone. Their size still intimidated nations. Their reputation stirred fear in the hearts of many. Their presence seemed beyond human strength. But God was not intimidated. He told his people directly, "Do not fear them," not because the giants weren't real, but because God was greater. The giants of Bashan, the Rephaim of Canaan, the warriors whose shadows stretched across the ancient earth, none of them could overpower the God who walked with his children. Tonight, as you rest, remember this truth. No giant in your life, no fear, no memory, no struggle, no thought is beyond the reach or power or compassion of your God. You do not face your giants alone. You do not carry your battles alone. You do not walk through your pain alone. You are held by the same God who held his people. In the land of giants, let that bring peace to every corner of your mind. Hear these words, soft and ancient, filling your heart with calm. I lift up my eyes to the hills. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. The hills the psalmist speaks of are the same hills that watched giants fall, watched nations rise, watched God's hand move across the earth with power. Those hills were ancient witnesses to God's faithfulness. And tonight, you rest beneath those same heavens. You breathe beneath those same stars. You are held by that same God. He will not let your foot slip. He who watches over you will not slumber. The Nephilim may have been strong. The Rephaim may have been mighty. The giants may have towered over the land, but God never sleeps. He watches over you, even now, even here, even in this quiet moment, when your eyes grow heavy and your breath grows slow. You are safe, because he is awake. Imagine yourself in a valley, older than civilization, a place where the ground still remembers footsteps, larger than life. But in this vision, the valley is peaceful, no movement, no fear, just silence. The wind moves gently through tall grass. The sky stretches wide and open. A warm glow rests over the land, as if the world itself is breathing softly. The giants of old are long gone. Their shadows have disappeared. Their strength has faded into dust, but the presence of God remains, still, strong, steady, eternal. And that same presence rests over you tonight. Let your breath deepen. Let your shoulders loosen. Let your body sink into the comfort beneath you. The giants are gone. The fear is silent. The night is safe. And you can finally rest So let go now, slowly, gently, without effort. Let sleep rise around you, like ancient mist. Let peace wrap you, like soft blankets. Let your thoughts drift, like leaves on quiet water. You've carried enough today. You've walked far enough today. You have done enough today. Now come rest, in the Nephilim's ancient presence, and in the arms of the God who has watched over every age, every world, every giant, every storm, and now watches over you. Sleep deeply, sleep peacefully, sleep safely in his presence. Good night.